Hi, Olga. How are you? You can open your microphone now. But you already have permission to open it.
Okay. Now good. So I thought it's stuck. Okay. Sorry. Just question came to my mind. How is your mantra singing was connected to the self-inquiry? Because you said that you were doing the mantra singing up to the level that you will drop unconscious.
Yes.
Or it was before your self-inquiries?
Before.
Before.
Mm.
Okay. And then you stop any practices and did only the self-inquiries.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. That's what I wanted to ask.
Mm. Mantras requires the ego who practices it.
Yeah.
Inquiry is to question the reality of the ego. What is it? Or from where it came from. And this implies attention, not an intellectual game or intellectual question. It's just attention. The attention falls on the seeker itself, or from where the idea of being a seeker, a person, an individual, right, emerged.
So with Sai Baba, you were doing when you were with Sai Baba, you were doing the mantra singing.
And the inquiry,
correct?
Yes.
And the inquiry you start doing with the different teacher.
No. No, it's a different teacher. See, a devotee of Baba explained me how to do the inquiry. I was doing all these practices, but they were not for me. In fact, the mere presence of Baba was enough for my mind to keep quiet.
The presence of Baba.
Yes, my mind will keep quiet straight away. The very thought of him will keep my mind quiet. Everything will go away from my head. All problems, all worries, all desires, everything will go away. The mind will be quiet.
Is it because he was very powerful or because you had a good connection with him?
This normally happens to a seeker which is ripe or mature. So the mere presence of these beings makes the seeker to keep quiet or makes the ego of the seeker to disappear. So the only thing that was there was the thought I, where I was free from thoughts, but the thought I was still there. So the inquiry or the attention on the I was happening spontaneously without me even knowing that there is such a thing as an inquiry. This went along for good for nearly 6 months, for 6 months. So that was my first trip to India, and I spent there 6 months. In that period of 6 months, basically at the end, the last months, Baba was going to be absent for 10 days, and he said, don't follow me. Because there will be no space for you. I'm going to be busy doing something. I'll come back in 10 days. I will leave the ashram open so you have accommodation and food. That normally doesn't happen, but he did it at that time. And I thought, if you go, I go. There's no reason for me to be here. Then I want to carry on into this, in your absence. So where can I go? People were thinking, okay, we go for some time and then we come back again after 10 days. And I went to see him, and mentally I asked where to go. I hold the question in my head. He passed in front of me. I fold my hands, and he looked at me, smiled, blessed, and carried on walking. Then he went away. Everybody went out for breakfast or for a rest or something, and somebody came to me with a piece of paper with the address of Ramana Maharshi Ashram. And I thought, well, I asked, where shall I go? And somebody gave me an address. I guess that's the answer to my question. So I went to Tiruvannamalai. I went with a friend. And I am in the bus on the way to Tiruvannamalai, and I was sleeping, which is very rare. I normally don't sleep seated. It's impossible for me. Whether it's a plane or a car or a bus, I can't sleep seated. I always envy people that are seated and sleeping. But I was basically not, I was completely gone. And then the process of waking up happened in slow motion. So the first thing that showed up was the brightest light ever. And there was a knowledge of being, just being. Then that light kind of passes through some channels in the body and reaches the brain. And then it appears the thought. It's not a thought, but it's kind of a self-awareness, which is the mind in its purest state, still without identification with the body. So when that happens, there is body consciousness, right? And I woke up and I could hardly feel the body. And I looked through the window and I saw Arunachala, and I told my friend, see, we are nearby, we go in there. I haven't seen that hill and never, nothing. And my friend says, Cesar, we have been driving for 6 hours and we passed so many hills. How can you possibly know this is where we're going? And it happens that Ramana Maharshi Ashram is a bus stop in front, right? And when we got there, the driver said, Ramana Maharshi Ashram, Ramana Maharshi Ashram. I said, I told you. Boom. We took our things and jumped out of the bus. And I went inside the ashram and I fell in the patio of my house, even more at home than in Puttaparthi. For some reason, I don't want to go into details. It doesn't really matter. And I felt attracted to a particular hall of the ashram. And when I entered, I was looking around, and suddenly there is a black statue of the Maharshi there. And I didn't notice it when I saw it. I kind of found myself mentally shocked with the image of the statue. And I lost body consciousness. But still I was conscious of being. I don't know for how long I was there, because you lose track of time and space and everything. And then my friend had to shoot me out of that state, had to bring me back. He was shaking me. Say, Cesar, say, what happened? What happened? And then my friend said, I'm hungry. And suddenly I started feeling hungry too. And a very nice man that works in the ashram His name is Jesus. I always forget. Anyway, this man approached to us and says, "See, are you coming from the party?" And then we said, "Yes." "Are you hungry?" And we said, "Yes, very much." So we would like to invite you for lunch. Normally that doesn't happen neither because it's very small ashram and the food is basically for the people that stay in the ashram. But this man kindly invited us for lunch, and then we went for lunch, ate. And we spent 10 days in Tiruvannamalai. For 10 days, I was the happiest man in the world. The attention will follow myself, stay on myself, but as I, right? Again, it's just the thoughtless state. But I felt that something really happened there. See, I felt something different after 6 months in India. And we came back to put the party, and Baba was there, and I went to say thanks. I wanted to know more about, even when there were libraries and people there, I didn't talk to anybody there. I was not even interested in the ashram anymore. It was just the hill, right? And I was hanging around with the sadhus around the hill, right? And then mentally again, I said, thanks, I want to know more this Ramana Maharshi man. I was very impressed with that. I was very impressed by this moment of lack of body consciousness, right? If there is no body consciousness, there is no body identity, but the ego bounced back. And then I was again first line and fold my hands and holding my prayer, so to say. And again, he looked at me, smile, bless, and carry on walking. And he went away, and we go out for breakfast or something, or lunch, I don't remember. It was in the morning, actually. Yeah, we went for breakfast. And again, somebody come and gave me a book of Ramana Maharshi in Spanish, written by David Gottman, called Be As You Are. And after a few days, it was time to go back home. 6 months visa finished and all that stuff. I couldn't stay longer in India, and I went back to Venezuela. On the way back to Venezuela, from there to Bangalore on the plane, I was going in and out of body identity without any effort. I will be in the plane and I will hold a cup of tea and I will see, well, it was obvious, see, that the cup of tea, the cup in my hand is not I and the body is not I neither, right? When I arrived in Venezuela, see, the association with the whole country, right, it brought back the ego, the identity with all that stuff, family, friends, job, blah, blah, blah. Still, I was going sometimes in and out of body identity. I would found myself like quiet and then beyond quietness. And the ego came back and I thought, no, I want this permanently. I don't want this going in and out anymore. And after a short period of time, I had the chance to go back again to India. And I noticed this, Baba was not directly doing anything, but indirectly things were happening. And then I went for darshan in the morning, and I noticed you are not talking to me. You directly will not guide me. See, it's like you are sending me to in another direction, right? Also, he was trying to prevent me somehow of my attachment to what I believe was my personal God or Guru. See, the attachment to the name and form of God, which eventually becomes an obstacle, right?
What God was by touch?
Yeah,
What is the
if you get attached to your Guru, then the Guru becomes, the attachment to the Guru becomes an obstacle.
So you had attachment to Baba?
Definitely. So I was holding this thought, okay, I got it. Directly, you will not tell me anything, but indirectly, everything is happening. So if you are not going to guide me directly, okay, then to whom can I talk? Because I read the book, and the book was basically telling me what I knew already without reading the book. So I read books after. See, all this was happening spontaneously somehow. Then I prayed, to whom can I talk? Because obviously you are not talking to me, right? So I felt that I was like pushed aside, right? Then again, he stand in front of me, look at me, smile, bless, and carried on walking. Then okay, I just it's gonna happen again. I just have to wait for something to happen. And I went out again for breakfast. And I left the hall and I put myself aside and reclined on a wall to let the people go, for the street to be empty. There was a lot of people going there, so I could go to the canteen and have my breakfast. And there are two entrances. One is for the people, the staff member, and the other one is for the general public. But I saw the queue from that gate shorter, so I went into that direction, right? And mixed up with all these people. People were looking at me funny, whatever. Then I am outside reclining on the wall, holding my cushion, and suddenly I felt that somebody was holding my arm. And when I look, I saw this man, very short, more or less like this beard, bald, with a hat like the Muslims, you know? And he looked at me and looked down like thinking, and looked at me again and smiled, and then looked down again like he let go of my arm and went away. And I said, wow, very strange, right? Who is this man? Why he holds me, right? As this man is walking in this direction, the friend that came with me to Tiruvannamalai says, Cesar, I see that you got very impacted by Ramana Maharshi and the ashram and all that stuff. There is a devotee of Baba that teaches the same, speak about self-inquiry and all that stuff. And there is a meeting today at 10 o'clock in the morning in Ganesha Garden, and there will be a Spanish translation. I said, fantastic. My English wasn't that good at that time. It was pretty basic. Then I went to this place at 10 o'clock in the morning. There was a small Spanish group there, and I asked if this is the meeting with this person, whatever, right? Ratan Lal, they said. And I said, yes, we're waiting for him. And then I sat down. And to my surprise, the person that was going to give the satsang was the man that was holding my arm. And when I saw this man, I knew everything finishes here. That's it. Because I asked for this, and he's there, right? And this is the man. And he sat down and quietly, and then after some time he said, any questions? There is no questions, so what's the point? Everybody was like politely silent, all this spiritual silence and pretending and all that stuff. And I said, I have a question, and explain what happened. I came here for 6 months, and this was happening with Baba, and then he went away. I went to Tiruvannamalai, and this happens there, and then I went back to Venezuela. These in and out things, how can this come to an end and become permanent? And then he told me, bring the attention from the seen to the seer. The seen will disappear. The seer will disappear. And what remain will be the act of seeing, experience as simply being. That's it. I just folded my hands and I kept quiet. Didn't ask any question. Just kept quiet. He told me what to do, and that's it. I took it. That's what I wanted. He gave it to me. Then other people were asking questions. I was not interested in other people's questions, and I was not interested in the answer because this is not of my business. My business is this, and I got it, right? I didn't know that I could do the inquiry there and then. So I just politely wait for the meeting to finish, and when the meeting is finished, we stand up and people gather around him, and I approach to him, and then he hold my hand and look at me and says, "You are very rare. So you are very rare." That's all. This is what he said. He didn't say special or anything. He said, "You are a very rare case." And then he went away. Because we wake up very early in the morning. I was not used to that. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or something. We had to make long queues. So that time I was really hungry and tired. So I went for lunch and I had a nap. And in the afternoon, I went to the mandir. Baba came for darshan. I didn't go first line. I was just basically at the back. That day I was no longer close to him. I was far. And then darshan finished and I remember, see the advice, and I went to the back and reclined on the wall because I couldn't sit for a long time with my leg crossed without reclining. I have problem in my hips and my knees and stuff. And for some reason, Baba came out and somebody brought the chair and he sat there. And I began to ponder about what I was told. See, I was told to do, I heard that, and then I started pondering about it. Okay. Bring the attention from the scene to the seer. And suddenly I realized, my God, this is the scene and this is the seer. So my attention has to go from the world and from God, see, and bring it to I, to myself, right? And as I am understanding that, Baba from that chair it smiles and does like this. So somehow he's acknowledging me, right? But far away. See, the distance between him and I, as an attachment, right, began to happen. The detachment, right? Then, okay, that is the scene, the world and God. And the seer is I. It's supposed to be the individual. See, the individual is the one that sees God and the world. Creations of the individual. Then I brought attention to the seer, to the I, and then the mind stopped. And then some kind of a power or a current or a vibration or an energy vortex, call it whatever you like, arose. See? And the I was gone, it disappeared. And I could intellectually, not intellectually after, see, it was obvious I am consciousness. I am that which sees. See? The seeing disappeared, the seer disappeared, and remain is what sees. Right? And so to see is to be. And it became obvious. Then I could intellectualize what was happening. It was obvious. I am that. I am consciousness. I am the self, whatever it is that you like to call it. And then there was a tremendous amount of joy and ecstasy, so whatever you like to call it. I could hardly feel the body. It was extraordinary. Of course, that is a mental reaction to the actual self-knowledge, right? And I was smiling and I was laughing and I couldn't even sit there. My body was like jelly. I just lie on the floor and people look at me funny. And I didn't notice that Mr. Ratanlal was seated there and he could see me through the bars of the gate, right? And I look at him and I just pulled myself together, stand up, and went out of the mandir. And then he's seated and he looked at me and said, "Why are you so happy?" And I couldn't answer. See, it just makes me even more happy. Like, there is no why, there is no reason. This is a happiness without any reason, right? And then he stood up and said, "What were you doing?" And I said, "I was doing nothing. I was just there, seated with myself, being myself." And then he started laughing too. Hold my hand again and start swinging it. We were like two idiots laughing for no rhyme, no reason. And he said to me, "Do you see that if we are serious enough, in a split second, we can have a glimpse of one's reality?" There was a glimpse, right? Then he asked me, "Where are you going?" I said, I'm going to the canteen. I can function, right? The ego is gone temporarily. It was temporarily gone, right? Still, the knowledge of being that was there. And I said, "I'm going to have my breakfast." So, what do you have for breakfast? He asked. Porridge and a cup of coffee. And I say, good, good, very good. And then he says, see you in satsang. And I say, sure. And I went to have my breakfast and I went for satsang again. And then he passed a comment, right? He pointed at me, and as he said, if he can realize, why couldn't you? And he started somehow pricing my attitude, the one-pointedness, earnestness, and all that stuff. And then he looked at me and said, after we have a glimpse, it may take a while, see, for this to settle down, but it is okay. And then I started somehow having a relationship with him. I started attending satsang. And then he asked me to go to his house, and the ego will bounce back. But I knew, right, that it was back, and I fell in few traps, right? And somehow he guided me and helped me to get out of that. Right? The traps were basically the attachment to the idea of a spiritual life, right? Living in the ashram, celibacy, vegetarianism, spiritual practice, India, all that stuff, right? And the last trap I realized that. And then he told me, you didn't realize that. You are that, right? Now remove your sense of separation from that. You are that. So, and at some point he said, well, I'm old and tired. So now you go out and deal with all this. I said, no, I don't want to do this. I came for this and I got it and I'm going. So carry on with my life, whatever life brings, that's all. So yes, I repeat mantras, but at some point I said, but I'm doing this all my life in one way or another. I'm doing service, so all that stuff. So this is not for me. So there must be something else. Right?
Looks like it came to you very easily when you are talking, like it came that, like you said, always spontaneously. Looks like it came easily for you.
At the
Sounds like
very young age, since my intellect started working, the capacity of discernment, discrimination, I could see people and I say, there is something that is not right here. And I don't want to be like this. I didn't understand all these social things and all that stuff, the world as people know it. I didn't find myself fitting into it, right? I was going along because, you're a child or teenager, that's your family, you are not independent, you have to put up with all that stuff. So I went through all that stuff, I put up with all that stuff, quietly, humbly and respectfully, see. And then a very traumatic event for me at that time, psychologically, occurred. And then I lost trust in the authority, family, religion, whoever it was. And I began to question really more profoundly life as such. So this is when the seeker was born, see? The existential mind was born. And I was looking for answers here and there. I like to spend time with people older than me and books, but I didn't find any answer. I thought there was an answer, but I found these answers were not satisfying. Then I moved from the island. Then I started doing karate. And then I got associated with Zen Buddhism and all that stuff. And that teacher was into that. And then I met a teacher in high school, philosophy teacher, and he gave me some books, and I began to somehow identify myself with that knowledge, right? And karate is a very good practice of concentration. So I was, see, unintentionally going through that without even knowing it. See, intuitively. See, I was placed on that way without even knowing it. So I moved to the city, and then the karate teacher of my other teacher gave me a job, and I was going deep into that. And then he basically adopted me. He became like a father to me, and I was basically living in his house, working for him, doing things for him. So I was already like the attitude of the student. See, whatever you say, I do. I didn't want anything in return. I was happy. It was happy for me always. That was my attitude. If I have a shelter, right, and something to eat, I'm happy with that. The minimum for the body. And I was not interested in anything else since then. Then I got in touch with the shamanist and spiritist movement, and I went into that, mistaking that for spirituality. And then I started developing all this mind stuff. But then I realized this is not also the way. And when I exhausted every single possibility, including the psychic powers, yeah, okay, I can do this and the other, but am I happy? See, do I feel free? I am in peace. I said no. And then I
So you
went,
went to because of it's popular in your country.
oh
It's
yeah,
sort of
very much, yeah. So I thought this is not it neither. So what is it? And because I didn't find the answer, I felt very depressed, a state of complete dispassion, not interested in anything. I didn't want it to eat. I didn't want it to live anymore. I was not interested in relation. I was not interested in anything. And then I just wanted to die. I said, what's the point of living? There is no point. If it is to live like this or like that, it makes no. And then the possibility to come to India came up. See, all that began to happen spontaneously. See, I was going through the whole path without knowing that there is a path. See?
maybe everything helped you, even that shamanism, karate, the
All that,
mantra.
all that were stepping stones, certainly. One thing leads to the other, there's no doubt.
In shamanism, they're also like kind of in harmony with nature, as I understand that.
Yeah, but I don't want to go into that. Otherwise, we're gonna go into another direction.
When you're in harmony with nature, you're a little bit balanced and you don't suffer much.
Shamans it's very rare to find a shaman or a spiritist without ego. Even the entities that come into trances have ego. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
So you have ego, but it could be also balance, or there is no possible to balance that ego.
Yeah, you can balance the ego, but still there is a balanced ego. Ego still is there. So,
yeah, you can reduce suffering, but not eliminate it.
yes.
But it didn't reduce your suffering.
No, and what the shamans and the spiritists call spiritual experiences, they are all mental. If it is an experience, there is an experiencer, and the experiencer is the mind. And there is a risk that the ego of the shaman or the spiritist or whatever it is grows and turns into something horrible. I saw they become very arrogant. And they are in conflict. They can say whatever they want, but they are in conflict. So
When you said that When you said that Baba was coming to you, it's mentally he was coming to you.
When?
No, like during your talk, you said
No,
that Baba came to you.
no, physically. I told you I was in the ashram. He was physically present.
Yeah, physically present, but sometimes you ask questions and he was coming to you. It's mentally, you mean?
I mentally, yeah, I don't remember myself in all the time that I spent there talking to him first. I will always approach to him. He will approach to me first. He will talk to me, I will reply because I just couldn't move. I just couldn't move. Neither mentally nor physically. I was just paralyzed.
And you got that liberation, even like those glimpses, without self-inquiry. Yeah, you said like you even didn't do self-inquiry. It happens spontaneously.
Yeah, the glimpses, yes. I didn't even know that the self-inquiry. I didn't know because I didn't have an intellectual knowledge to compare it with the actual experience. See, when I read Ramana's book, I said, this is it. This is what happened to me there. But I didn't, it will come and go. It was not coming and going. It appeared to be so. It was just covered again by me. See, by the mind. But in the book says you need an alive guru. But because of my attachment to God, God sent me away. See.
I'm just trying to get some tools, probably,